Hi, this is Grade 6, Unit 1, Lesson 4, the ball and ramp investigation. In this investigation, you're going to get a ramp like this. It's a PVC pipe and it has holes drilled in it for release points. You have a 16D nail that you put inside of the ramp through the holes to stop the ball from rolling out. You get some carbon paper, which you can see on the floor here. The carbon paper is on top of white paper so that when the golf ball bounces on it, it will leave a dimple mark. In this investigation, students are trying to find out how the release point on the ramp affects the distance between bounce 1 and bounce 2 of the golf ball. So to do this investigation, you take your golf ball. After you have loaded your nail, you can see I have my nail and my 10 centimeter release point. Put your golf ball inside of the ramp. When your students are ready, have them release the golf ball by taking the nail out of the ramp. This allows the ball to bounce on the carbon paper. Don't have them move the paper, the white paper, just move the carbon paper. And you can see the dimple marks on the paper, and then your students are going to measure the distance between bounce 1 and bounce 2. When you put your carbon paper down, make sure that you put the ink side down because it really does leave a very nice dimple mark on the paper when the ball bounces. Once your students have measured how far the ball went, you want them to cross off their dimple marks because they're going to use the same paper again and again. And you don't want them to get confused as to which one they're going to measure from. If for some reason we are at home doing this investigation, you can use, you can see here, I used a gift wrap roll, and I didn't want to put the nail through it because it's not really that sturdy. What I did was I cut slits in it and put an index card, or I used a recipe card. You can stick a card in there and that will keep the golf ball from rolling out, and then your students can set up the lab setup just like you did in school at home. If they don't have a gift wrap roll, what they can use is a paper towel roll, but the paper towel roll will not be big enough for a golf ball. Instead, have your students use a marble because you want something that's going to be heavy enough to leave the mark on the paper once it bounces. So inside of your manual, there's a diagram of the setup. It tells you exactly how to set it up and use it. Your students are going to be filling out a lab report. So you have this lab report inside of your manual. This is student page. It's at the end of the unit. And the students are going to draw a model of it. They're going to graph and give explanations as to what's going to happen in this golf lab. So remember, this investigation is how does the release point affect the distance between bounce 1 and bounce 2. Once your students have gathered enough data to say how the release point affects the distance between bounce 1 and bounce 2, you want them to think about possible variables, other variables they could change to change the investigation. For example, how does the surface the ball bounces on affect the distance between bounce 1 and bounce 2? And in an investigation like that, they would always use the same release point, but sometimes release the ball on a hard tile floor and sometimes release the ball on a carpeted floor. Or perhaps they could do, how does the angle of the ramp affect the distance between bounce 1 and bounce 2? You definitely want to suggest changing a variable to have further investigation. I hope that this video helped.